So, for a podcaster that always says that he's talking about the guys and he's speaking for the guys, it's interesting that this episode is going to feature more of the ladies than anything else. And I'm sure most guys wouldn't have a problem with that because, hell, when you kind of think about it, a lot of what us guys talk about when it comes to like dating, sex, and relationships is ladies. So, we might as well do it as is. But before I get to that, there's actually this story that I just stumbled onto before I started recording. Now, it says, and I quote, "Court document shows a mom coached her 17-year-old daughter on how to seduce R. Kelly and encourage her to have his..." Hold on, wait, what? Wait, let me just read the caption on this. "Recently surfaced transcripts from an R. Kelly case show that a Jane Doe and her mother plotted to seduce R. Kelly and get his attention at a concert when she was just 17 years old. The mother coached her on how to seduce R. Kelly and encouraged her to go to his hotel room." Hold up, wait. What?
Get ready for the battle of the sexes.
Wait, let me just try and get this one straight. Like, you're telling me that R. Kelly, the one that was suspected of banging all of these like super young kids and these super young teenagers and shit, actually had a situation where supposedly there was a mother that looked at R. Kelly, saw the bank, and decided, you know what, fuck it, I am going to pawn my daughter off to go and fuck this nigga and get his kids? What the fuck? Like, this is wild. This is incredibly wild. I can get you pushing yourself to go and shag someone that you don't like and have his kids because he's got bank. Like, I can get if you push your sister or your cousin or someone who's like much older and is trying to get with somebody at the time. But you pushed your 17-year-old daughter? What the fuck is going on with people? And now this is a very, very weird situation for me because like all three of these people seem to be wrong, and for some reason it seems like R. Kelly actually doesn't seem like the worst person out of all these three people. Because of course, yes, people would have started with, oh, the kid is 17 and so she shouldn't be considered and shit. But let's be particularly honest. It's not like when someone turns 18, that's when the automatic download of having a conscience and thinking about, the consequences of your actions automatically gets downloaded. Nah, like it's just that when you're 18, that's when you're fully accountable for them. But when you're 17, when you're 18, when you're 19, like the thought process is all still more or less the same. So in some ways, the fact that the daughter sort of agreed to it is very wild in and of itself. Then there's the mother who is pushing the daughter because she looks and she's like, you know what, I could have pawned myself, but fuck it, I'm a lot older than R. Kelly would like, so my daughter would do. Like, both mother and daughter were looking at bank and they were like, you know what, we'll go for it. Because there's actually like, conversations that have been listed in this entire thing. And it seems like the daughter's perfectly okay with it. And honestly, I didn't even think of segueing into this, but ladies, for those of y'all that usually ask us to believe every single thing that's said, this is one of the reasons why we usually like to question the information. Because sometimes there's people with malicious intent. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that R. Kelly is any innocent. Even though a 17-year-old baby is trying to shag you or, is trying to let you, leave them kids inside, you're still a grown man and you still have the ability to say no. So if it happened, if it didn't happen, that was entirely up to them. But the fact that the guy actually let it happen, still does paint him in the wrong. But it is very, very wild. Like, I didn't expect this podcast to start in this wild of a way because there's a lot less wild shit that's coming along. Because this is Break Time on West Side and we should have started in our very typical fashion, which is... Welcome to Break Time on West Side, your number one Break Time podcast, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. The man on the mic is a man who sees the remix to Conviction, hot and fresh out the... Okay, that was actually a very bad analogy. But oh well, anyways, he's a man who once believed Bukkake was a Japanese form of martial arts. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. The show is Battle of the Sexes, our weekly love, sex, and relationships show where I get to talk about R. Kelly sometimes, I get to talk about relationships, I get to talk about sex. Sometimes you might disagree with me, but I usually like to come to some sort of a conclusion. And if you agree with that conclusion, if you disagree with it, if you want to contribute, then the place to do it at is at Breaktime on Westside on IG, at Breaktime on Westside on Facebook, and on Twitter, you can slide into my personal DMs, which is at Bagaka the D. Send some feedback there. If there is something that you'd like to discuss or debate over, we can do it over there. And if it becomes really good, then we can probably even turn it into an episode. And if you are listening through an app that allows for ratings and or reviews, a nice rating, a nice review would be highly appreciated. Helps me stay up on the charts and, make sure that I don't lie to people when I tell them that I am a chart-topping podcaster. Now, moving things on swiftly, I do want to get to the main topic of today, but before I do that, I want to highlight a problem that I have been having. I don't know if it's a personal problem or if it's something that my fellow homies have been going through, but it's a problem with Instagram. And to be more specific, Instagram's algorithms. Like, as someone who hasn't been going to IG as much lately, I've actually been trying to pull back from it a little bit. One, for the sake of my mental health, and two, just so that I can have more time to do more constructive shit. Like, every single time I'm going on to IG right now, and I don't know if it's because of some of the reels or the pictures that have been shared to me or that I've shared to other people, but every single time I'm on IG, it's like there's videos and images of booty like everywhere. I kid you the fuck not. I open my IG homepage, and as I'm just scrolling down on some of the suggested accounts, it's some shorty in a bikini. Or I'm going past Spiritual Word, it's a babe in a bikini that's busy being used to advertise for Fashion Nova. I'm scrolling past that and I'm going to suggested or featured reels, and the first 4 or the first 5 of those reels is pretty much just babes in like bikinis with booty, or just babes with booty in general, and it's jiggling or some shit. Then I go to the explore page because I guess I should look for something different, and it's the same bloody thing. Babes in bikinis, and most of it is booty. Like, I honestly never thought I'd say this, and I bet there's a bunch of my fans and even close friends who probably never thought I'd ever say such a thing, but I feel like there's genuinely just too much booty for me to actually consume and like. Like, it's actually getting to the point where I'm actually starting to appreciate smaller booties, babes with smaller bodies and shit, because I have been seeing so much big booty, I have been seeing so many fine looking BBWs that it's getting to a point where it's like that satisfaction of attraction, like that dopamine hit has been burned out so much that I'm looking at them and I'm not even feeling jack shit anymore. Like, it's becoming too bloody much. At least that's from my perspective. I don't know. Some of the niggas might agree with me, some of them might disagree. Maybe it's an individual thing. Maybe it's the thing that I've been looking for online. But I'm just seeing so much booty and I'm just starting to get tired of that shit. Like, I don't know. Maybe if someone who's on Instagram or someone who knows someone who's working at Instagram or works at Meta and knows people around Instagram, please talk to those guys. I feel like we're getting a little too much. Like, give us the stuff that we like, the stuff that the algorithm sees that we like, and then interchange it with some random shit on like a different day, or like after a couple of different times of logging in. I feel like this shit is becoming a little too much. And as someone who's really been considering taking a break from social media, this is the shit that's driving me further and further towards that goal actually becoming a thing. Because it's not that I hate IG. I understand the usefulness of IG and I understand why some people might like IG. But when it starts becoming too much like this, I honestly just feel like I'm tired of this shit. I'm jaded. I'm honestly quite done with it. But anyways, maybe that's just me. I don't know, you can tell me your experience and what you feel about it. But that said, I will leave it at that and I will move it on to our main topic of today. And I want to start by saying one very simple statement that might annoy a bunch of people. Pleasuring a woman is not easy. Like, let me just say that right off the bat. Pleasuring a woman is not easy. If it was as easy to pleasure a woman as it is easy to pleasure guys, then I kid you the fuck not, we probably wouldn't have a Netflix documentary on pleasuring women, or we'd have one on pleasuring men as well. And I know there's a bunch of babes that are like, oh, it's not that it's hard, it's just you who doesn't know how to pleasure a woman, of which, let's be very honest, compared to us fellas, when we kind of look at the procedure of making you guys actually achieve orgasm in quite a number of cases, you actually find that it almost feels like a surgical procedure as opposed to ours, which feels like pretty much just, a hammer hitting a nail on a plank of wood. Now, as a result, what babes have done a lot of times is they talk about the stuff that they don't like and they talk about the stuff that they do like, and us guys usually listen and try to adapt and try and match up to whatever it is that would give you guys pleasure. Because in as much as people talk about the information being available everywhere and especially it being there for free, it's not like we're actively looking for that shit, because we have a lot more important shit to do, like trying to make money so that we can attract you, and sometimes it's not even in the most digestible format. So we're left with the information that you guys give us, which, let's be honest, is tantamount to being referred to as hearsay. So there is quite a lot that us guys have sort of picked up in the name of hearsay, in the name of stuff that babes tell us about, the kind of pleasure that they want and how they want it delivered. But there is quite a lot that is actual bullshit in that. And it ended up taking me quite a long time to actually discover that shit. And I figured, if I'm one guy that doesn't know so much of this shit and I talk to a lot of babes on a regular basis, what about a lot of the other guys that don't? So I decided to compile a list of about 3, main misconceptions when it comes to sex and pleasuring babes, which should help the guys, which indirectly and even directly should also help the babes in terms of the whole pleasure thing. And all 3 of those points were actually influenced by 2 video clips that I got on IG, which I am going to play for you guys that sort of give a pretty good idea of what it is that I'm about to talk about. So I'm going to play for you the first one. So here it is.
I just
orgasm?
Learned how to orgasm recently.
Really?
While intercourse.
Was it by yourself or was it with someone?
It was by myself, and then after that I learned how to do it, or how to let it happen when I'm with other people.
Mm-hmm. How do you let it happen? For people out there who have never orgasmed.
Just really completely relax. I always am super in my head, oh my God, does it even feel good? Is he enjoying it? So I just learned to fucking relax, let go, and try to please. I shouldn't only be trying to please him, make sure that it's feeling good to myself. So just really that. And,
Is there a certain position that works better for you?
Yes, ma'am.
What, on top?
On top.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's like my little sister. That's the easiest way. It's the Ruby Yee.
Angela, so excited.
Yeah, I am excited. So wait, Ruby, were you lying to guys before that about orgasming? If he's like, did you come?
Absolutely.
So you are a liar.
I am, but I lie to make people feel good sometimes, But yeah, I honestly, I still do, but hopefully, I don't know. But yeah, I was going to say, actually, I didn't know, I know this sounds crazy, but I didn't know sex was supposed to feel good for a girl until becoming in my 21, 22. I literally didn't, there's so much I didn't, know about sex until recently.
Do you get what about oral sex? You let guys eat you out, you come that way?
I've never came off of head, no.
Wow.
What? Wait, what?
No, I don't even
I
have guys do it because I just want them to do it, but honestly I don't even they don't make it feel good. So
Alright, so that was Ruby Rose on Lip Service, the podcast with Angela Yee, and that was what she had to say about it. Now, there's 2 misconceptions in terms of pleasuring women that I got from that, but I'm gonna go to the second one and then we can handle it. This one was from another podcast, I can't remember the name, but I'll just play it for you. So here it is.
You know how you be looking forward to dick for the longest, you so excited about it, and you get there and it's oh my God, you motherfucker. And waxed this pussy and washed it, and waxed and washed and waxed and washed. You know what I mean? Greased it. I did a lot to get here. Wow. 2 minutes. My sisters that fell victim to them big ass Mandingo dicks, it's a scam. You know why? Because if you don't know how to work a big dick, it's painful. Period. Small dick is worst thing is it suck, but you can barely feel the shit anyway. He just up there doing his business. Bad dick is painful and is corny. I don't know. Some of the best dick I ever had in my life has been from small ones. And I am convinced it is not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. And I don't care about your gray shorts or your hoochie daddy shorts. I want to see how you wave them hips on the dance floor.
Phelps, I don't hoochie daddy shorts.
No.
Because it's my experience. If you can dance, you can fuck.
If I stand up, these come down on my knees.
Get that nigga pop locking and dropping. That's the one you want. What?
And my drawers ain't hips. Coming out.
It's the hips.
Alright, so both of those have outlined 3 main misconceptions that babes have given us about pleasuring them, which I feel guys just need to know at this point, because it's hurt us and as a result it's also hurt them. And I am going to work backwards on this one, so I'll start with the second video and what that one brought out, and then I can move to the first one. And I'm just gonna start like right off the bat because I feel like this one is like the biggest lie that's ever been put out there, and that is big dick is great dick. Like, that one has been sold to us for such a long time. It's something that people talk about. Babes talk about this every single time. They always talk about how, oh, they want a guy with a big dick. Oh, they want a guy that will fuck them with a big dick. If they hate a guy, they'll say that he has a small dick. If they love a guy, then there's that whole thing that I usually say about how 2 inches will feel like 8. But if she hates you or if she stops loving you, then those 8 inches will start feeling like 2. Now, that's something that I've said. That's something that a lot of babes have talked about. But fortunately, and this is more fortunate to the people of the Small Dick Association, apparently it's actually not entirely true. Like, having a good size of dick is pretty okay. Unfortunately for most of us guys, that's not actually a set size, and it depends on, I guess, the woman. And to some degree, I'd probably say the culture and where exactly it's located. Because if you're talking about, people from Sudan, and, Sudanese niggas are known for big dicks, or places like Congo, then maybe 4 inches might be too small. But if you look at a place like Thailand, which has supposedly been known for having niggas with small dicks, then maybe 3 might actually be considered to be pretty perfect, or 4 even. So I guess it depends on where it is that people are at and the kind of size requirements that most of these people are sort of used to. So for the most part, a lot of these guys that are going for dick BBLs, dick fillers and shit, having fat moved from, their stomach, their back fat or some shit onto their dick because they want an increase in size, whether it's length or whether it's girth. Apparently it's like these guys have been doing all of that for nothing, because now the babes have pretty much come and they've pretty much discredited the whole idea of having a big dick, meaning that it's gonna be great dick, and they've pretty much said, you know what, it doesn't have to be all that big. And the weird thing is, it's not just this babe on the video that was saying it. I've actually spoken to a female podcaster ever since like mid last year, and she's been saying that same thing the entire time. I've spoken to friends, I've spoken to co-workers about this shit, and they've all said it. Big dick doesn't necessarily mean that it's all that great. Most times it's actually uncomfortable. So I hope guys who've been feeling bad, guys who've been praying that they get big dick, probably if they were super young or anything, I hope this makes them feel a lot better and will actually redirect them to focusing on technique rather than trying to get a bigger dick through like dick pills or surgery or some shit. But that aside, on to the next one, which is the second one. And that is her inability to orgasm is my, or should I say the guy's fault. Like, I feel like that one is something that has been passed on to us, and I wouldn't necessarily blame this on the babes and the banter that they have. I feel like this one is sort of shared, because with babes for a very long time, they always felt like the man's pleasure came first. Like, that was something that was taught, and it's almost like, as long as the guy comes, you've done a good job. And if he hasn't come, then you aren't doing a good job. And babes recently started, talking about them and their pleasure, and more babes are coming out to talk about how guys should be pleasuring them, and a good sexual experience is when she gets pleasure, because with a guy, orgasming is particularly easy. Now, that as a result has made it so bad that, sometimes when a babe hates you and you guys used to date or you guys were having a thing, the one thing that they attack is your sexual prowess as a guy. She'll go and she'll tell her friends, and they'll go and they'll blurt it out to other people that apparently you're shit in bed. And apparently it's because you never made her orgasm. Now, fortunately for us guys, Ruby Rose came through and clearly said, you know what, I was too in my head. Shorties should just relax. And it's actual proof that sometimes her not orgasming, her not hitting that high note is clearly as a result of her being in her own head, or just her having her own issues, and not necessarily you as a guy. Because there's tons of guys that'll struggle, they're trying to make a babe come. And one of the worst questions to ask a babe is if they've come in quite a number of situations. Babe, I've been saying shit like that for a while. But you're trying to make your babe come, but you're unable to, and you feel like you're inadequate, and yet the problem is actually her. It's not you. So I feel like to a certain degree, now I think it's more and more babes that need to understand that your orgasm is your responsibility. yes, it's partially mine, but it's almost always going to be your responsibility as an individual. But before I get to that last one, let me just bring in a nice bonus one, because I feel like in this list of misconceptions in terms of sex, I feel like guys were dealt a very bad hand. Because for the past, 20, 30, 40 years or something, like all the media that we've been consuming, a lot of the shit that people have been saying like in public in relation to sex has always made it seem as though for us to give a woman good pleasure, we have to make love to her. It's something that just started changing recently, and as a result, there's a lot of guys that are not getting it quite right in the bedroom. Especially for guys like me, guys who grew up watching a fuck ton of rom-coms, because our moms had the remote quite a lot of the time, we'd watch a lot of soaps, and I am a huge fan of R&B music. Like, I was brought up in that whole, I'll make love to you like you want me to, then I'll hold you tight, baby, all through the night. Like, that was what I was brought up on. The whole J Holiday, I'ma put you to bed, I'ma wrap my fingers through your hair, you'll wrap your legs around me and I'll love you till your eyes roll back. Like, that was the shit that I was brought up on. So imagine my surprise when I'm starting to bang like one babe, then this other babe, then all of these babes like want you to be all rough with it. Then you end up meeting with a babe who's like, oh, choke me, oh, slap me around. Like, this is shit that you saw in porn. And every single time you were talking about sex with people, women included, all they used to say was, don't trust what it is that you see in porn. That is fake, that's just made for entertainment. But guess what? Them bitches like that entertainment as well. So, you get to be a lot more rough with it. You get to be a lot more brutal. Like, there's babes that want a nigga to pretty much step on their face as they're hitting it from the back. And guess what? That's shit that we've seen in porn before. But we were told not to follow porn. We were told, go and do Kama Sutra, blah, blah, listen to your woman. So now there's a lot of us guys that are suffering because on this end, you're supposed to give candlelit dinner and you have to be all sweet and shit. But automatically now it's time to fuck, now you automatically now have to turn into this dominant human being that now gets to beat this babe. And then, you move from calling her queen to calling her bitch. Like, that shit is wild. And it's taking guys a long time to actually figure that out. Fortunately, we are learning that and we are actually making quite a bit of stride on that entire thing. Although the last and final point, which I managed to save for last because I feel like this one is a little biased to me, is that women only orgasm through head. Like, not unless you're giving that shorty a CJ, you haven't done a good job in the bedroom. And I am very happy that Ruby Rose is one of the babes that flat out says that she does not particularly orgasm from it. Cause I kid you not, I was with some shorty last year and I can remember she was busy trying to talk to me about pleasuring a woman, and she was saying that you have to, put your mouth down there, especially for someone like me who's very choosy in terms of, who I go down on. Like, this shorty was like, oh, you have to go down on this shorty. You have to make sure she gets that pleasure, because apparently 97% of women, or is it 87? I can't remember. Of women do not orgasm from penis and vagina action. And I sort of pulled back. I was like, wait, really? And she was like, yeah. Like, most babes will get pleasure, but you have to eat them out so that, you can get that orgasm from them. And I'm literally sitting there busy wondering if my life of the moments I might hoe around is suddenly over, up until I actually started to realize that there are some babes that actually don't like head all that much. It's kind of the same way as guys mostly like me that don't really get off on head. Like, they like it, it's nice, it feels nice, and it's good when someone does that for you because there's a certain element of service to it, but it's not like it's something that'll give them an orgasm per se. Like, they just prefer good old-fashioned dick. But because pro pussy eating is the loudest one, those guys will usually get drowned out. They never really get to say shit. So guys over there busy feeling bad because sometimes they don't want to give head, but they feel like they have to give head, otherwise they're not pleasuring the woman. And all of a sudden it's like guys sometimes feel like they're doing so much, and yet sometimes it's not even worth all that much. But to conclude on all of this, I will actually circle back to the first point that I mentioned at the beginning of this entire main topic. It is not easy to pleasure a woman. It definitely isn't. And the unfortunate bit is we've been fed a fuck ton of misconceptions about this shit. But if we try and talk to each other a little bit more, line shit up, express the fact that you're not hitting an orgasm or you prefer to be, loved this way or pleasured a certain way, then a lot more of us can get a fuck ton more pleasure instead of a bunch of people busy complaining that you can't give good dick or, you don't know how to pleasure a woman. But then again, maybe I'm wrong for thinking all of this because to some degree a lot of it kind of benefits me. Maybe I might actually have a point on this. I want your thoughts on all of it. The DMs are open on IG, on Facebook it is at Breaktime on Westside, on Twitter it is at BagakaTheD. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and if you are listening through Castbox, feel free to drop your thoughts and comments below and I will attend to them accordingly, and I will catch you guys on the next break.